I'm going to say something that might irritate you a little. This month you're going to spend more than you earn. Yes, again. And this is not because of your carelessness or your inability to save money. Although that might be true.
Don't take it personally.
But you'll spend more than you earn because the system running your financial decisions isn't the one you think it is. And until that changes, the numbers in your bank account won't. Now, I could be wrong. And honestly, I want to be. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give you 4 specific ways to prove me wrong. And there's a template link below that maps the whole thing out so you can actually follow through. But before we get there, we need to talk about why I'm so confident making that claim in the first place. Because here's the thing. Most people watching this right now have already tried to fix their spending. You've made budgets. You've told yourself this month is different. Maybe you even downloaded an app. And yet, somehow, the cycle continues. While some may classify this as a discipline problem, I prefer to classify it as a psychology problem. And psychology is where we're starting. Let's start with something called hedonic adaptation. Your brain has a baseline, a default level of satisfaction it always returns to, regardless of what happens to your finances. You get a raise, and you feel great for maybe 2 or 3 months. Then that new income level becomes the new normal. The lifestyle that felt like a reward starts feeling like the minimum standard. And your spending quietly adjusts upward to match the new feeling. The problem is that this adaptation only moves in one direction comfortably. Spending climbs with income without much resistance. But pulling it back down when things get tight feels like deprivation, even when you're still living well by any objective measure. That asymmetry is where most people quietly lose ground without ever identifying why. And then there's present bias. Your brain is wired to feel present pain far more sharply than future pain. Spending money today feels fine because the consequence is abstract and distant. The version of you dealing with the fallout in 2 or 3 years feels almost fictional to your brain right now. So your brain makes what feels like a perfectly reasonable call every single time. Spend now, sort it out later. Kahneman and Tversky spent decades documenting exactly this pattern. Humans are not the rational financial decision makers we believe ourselves to be. We are present-focused, emotionally driven, and consistently outmaneuvered by our own psychology. But the one that tends to hit hardest is lifestyle inflation tied to identity. When your income increases, spending doesn't just go up because you can afford more. It goes up because your sense of self starts to shift alongside it. The car you drive, the area you live in, the places you eat. These stop being just purchases. They become signals to the people around you, and more importantly, to yourself. Leon Festinger's work on social comparison theory shows that humans are constantly benchmarking themselves against the people around them. And in a world where everyone's financial highlight reel is permanently on display, that benchmark never stops moving. You're not just keeping up with the Joneses. You're keeping up with a filtered, curated, algorithmically amplified version of everyone you've ever known. And your spending reflects that pressure whether you're consciously aware of it or not. Here's where the conversation needs to shift slightly, because overspending is not purely a personal failure story. The environment you make financial decisions in is not neutral. It is engineered. One-click purchasing exists for one reason. Every second of delay between impulse and transaction gives your brain a chance to reconsider. Removing that pause removes that chance. The companies building these systems understand behavioral psychology better than most people ever will, and they have applied it deliberately. Buy now, pay later. Minimum monthly payments. Credit limits that feel like your own money. These create psychological distance between the emotional experience of spending and the actual financial consequence of it. The pain arrives weeks or months later, long after the dopamine from the purchase has faded. By then, your brain has already moved on. Then there's social media, which functions as a 24-hour advertisement delivered through people you trust. You're not seeing a billboard for a product. You're seeing someone you went to school with using it, wearing it, living with it. Social proof and status anxiety hitting simultaneously dozens of times a day. The point is this. You are not making financial decisions in a vacuum. You are making them inside a system that has invested enormous resources into understanding exactly how to make you spend. Recognizing that doesn't automatically protect you, but it does change the question from why can't I control myself to what does it actually take to operate differently inside this system. That second question is far more useful. So here are 4 actionable ways rooted in everything we have just covered. And remember, the full plan is in the template below. 1. Build a spending identity, not just a spending limit. Budgets tend to fail because restriction triggers resistance. Instead of defining what you cannot spend, build a clear picture of the financial identity you are actively moving toward. Who are you becoming? What does that person's relationship with money actually look like? Every spending decision becomes a check against that picture rather than a battle against a rule. Identity is a stronger governor than a budget line. 2. Reintroduce friction deliberately. The system removes friction to accelerate spending. You put it back. A 48-hour rule on any non-essential purchase above a threshold you decide on. One extra step, even just writing the purchase down before you make it. You are not trying to eliminate impulses. You are giving your brain enough time to catch up with them. Most impulses don't survive 48 hours when examined with a clear head. 3. Audit what's setting your baseline. If the content you consume and the people you spend time with are constantly signaling a lifestyle your income cannot sustain, your financial baseline will keep drifting upward regardless of your intentions. This means looking honestly at the accounts you follow, the social environments that trigger comparison, and asking whose lifestyle you are actually trying to match and what that is costing you. The inputs shaping your spending are rarely examined. They should be. 4. Make your future self specific enough to feel real. Present bias is powerful because the future is vague. A vague future loses to a concrete present almost every time. So make the future concrete, not a general goal around saving more. A specific figure, a specific date, and a specific description of what that number unlocks for you. The more real and vivid that future version of your life feels, the harder it becomes for your present brain to casually trade it away for something you didn't plan to buy. So do I still think you'll spend more than you earn this month? If the psychology we covered today goes unaddressed, the honest answer is yes. Hedonic adaptation doesn't pause because you watched a video and felt motivated. Present bias doesn't switch off because you recognized it. These are deeply embedded patterns, and they don't respond to awareness alone. What actually changes things is building structure around the way your brain works rather than relying on willpower to override it. Designing systems that function even when motivation is low. That gap between knowing and doing is where most financial plans collapse. You watched this far. Some part of you already knew something needed to change. That's not a small thing. But the question now is whether that recognition turns into something concrete. The template is below. Use it. Prove me wrong.